All right, gentlemen. I think this is episode 29. We were off last week. We were off the week before. I don't know either way, but
we've missed one somewhere along the way.
Yeah, I just
number-wise.
If you're listening, thank you.
We're almost to 35.
Yeah,
the number doesn't matter.
Somewhere along the way.
Episode almost 35.
Yeah, we're almost at 35 where we're supposed to see growth. So, first bit of business. The website is live. I've been promising this for weeks. Website is live. 3starrecruits.com. You can go there for all of our blogs, all of our podcasts. If you do daily fantasy on DraftKings, our man Breezy is going to be providing all of you with your information on how to do your lineups, set your lineups. First looks will be going up Wednesday. The first podcast is currently up now. First podcast, first video up for first looks. Final decisions will be going up Saturday. He will post that sometime this weekend. So be on the lookout for that. Also, picks and bets this week. That has been posted to the website. Those were done by yours truly. So if you guys have any bets you want to put in, those are my analysis that I've done thus far. It's kind of tough with week one, no preseason. We've seen absolutely nothing. We're going off reports of what's going on in camp.
Yeah.
I did the best I could.
It doesn't even feel like football should be starting tomorrow.
No, but I am excited. I took the weekend off to watch football.
Wrong one.
So I am pumped that, we at least are having football. So, go check out the website. I mean, Shane, thank you. You did a very nice job on the website. It looks rock solid.
Yep.
I texted him last night, seriously, really, really good website, very good quality. Sent it off to a couple people today. They're like, this is good. Who did that? I'm like, I know a guy. If you need a website, let me know. I can redirect you. So let's get started. We have some orders of business. We had a long running bet. I say long running, it was like 3 weeks for the championship. Did we have a winner? Who was it?
That would be me. Thank you.
Oh,
Gotta be.
Stat boy.
he had DJ.
Yeah.
Who did everybody else have?
I'm positive. I'm pretty sure Russ took second.
I didn't have anybody even close. I had
either.
Rory. It was the closest.
So I had Justin Thomas, who tied for second. So
you T for T2, yeah.
Which was like $4 million. So
4.5.
So
those payouts were crazy. I don't know if you saw the list at the end. That was, just going there. It's like, who cares what you shoot? You're going to make a shitload of money.
Wasn't it down to like sixth place or something? Made at least
all over $1 million.
Rory was just under $1 million. I think he finished T9, but there was 3 guys there, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of those guys.
I think for 8th. He was tied for 8th.
It wasn't
okay.
Like some of those guys that, like Sebastian Munoz, I think he made a decent amount of money. And obviously just getting there, you get invites to all the majors and everything else. And I think there's more for like top 10 there. So,
yeah, I mean, congrats to DJ for winning the Net Tour Championship and finished T3rd gross. At the Handicap Tour Championship, which we'll get into, but
yes,
because I know you have things you want to say about this. I was so I enjoyed the shit out of it Sunday. I watched from start to finish. Just after we got home from golf, I was just like locked in. I watched golf.
Yep.
And I watched all the back nine that was commercial free. Thank you whoever paid for that. And as excited as I was to watch the golf and see the finish, I was equally angry, and instantly that night did a bunch of research, wrote a blog out on the website, 3starrecruits.com, and my opinions on the Tour Championship. There needs to be some changes.
yeah. I at least Schauffele and JT made it semi-exciting coming down the stretch.
Mm-hmm. And Rahm.
Yeah, Rahm made a little comeback.
Yeah.
JT had a chance. I think he had a bad bogey on 8 and a bad bogey on 17, which really hurt him. He had a really good chance to make a run at it.
Are you thinking complete overhaul or just not 10 shots, but maybe 5 shots or something to that extent?
There should be no shots.
I would.
That's a start.
Not to toot my own horn, but I still feel like the idea I discussed last week where, by the time you get down to, you do it at every step, but by the time you get down to the top 30, you just have a tournament, and whoever wins that tournament wins the Tour Championship.
I tooted the fuck out of your horn on my blog.
I'm gonna have to read that.
He heard it at work. He was like,
I mean, you're basically taking the number one player in the world, Dustin Johnson, and letting him play. I guess there's 4 rounds, so as a 2.5 handicap, you're giving the guy 10 strokes to the number one player in the world. Like
half the field's eliminated.
So after,
I would even say more than that.
Yeah,
I would say 25 of the players are eliminated.
I have some stats here. I'll share with you guys. So
I re-listened to our podcast from last week, and we kind of talked about how some people are talking about this is like the 5th major. Like, that's complete horseshit.
It is.
The more I think about it.
Yeah.
I think we all had agreed on it like 2 weeks ago that it kind of is the 5th major, but now after watching it, I think we've all reframed.
If you take the strokes out of it, I totally agree, because that course is set up
like a major.
like a major.
The rough is
It
terrible.
is set up like a major, yes. The strokes make it not even close to a major.
Yes.
Especially when it's set up that way, because you don't have the chance to make a run when you can't attack the golf course. You're just trying to hold on.
Yeah,
and that was our consensus even 2 weeks ago, or my thoughts personally for Chicago was the guys who were outside that top 30. How do you make a run when you, like you just said, you're trying to hold on? That course was so tough 2 weeks ago in Chicago that how does a guy go out and like have a chance to maybe shoot 62 and getting into that top 30? That's more exciting to me.
Right. I mean, you want to get crazy or you want to do these outside the box ideas. I'd rather have them, once they get to the top 70, have all 70 guys remain for a 2-week tournament. If you want DJ to start with strokes, make him earn it the week prior. If he finished the tournament prior, if he won by 2 strokes or whatever, have those scores carry over
and go to a new
cumulative
then you start Eastlake with
another course.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another great. I mean, all these ideas are better than what they've come up with.
At least that way, the stroke he starts with, he earned the week prior.
Yeah, and obviously they've made a ton of. I wouldn't be surprised to see changes, because we've seen 2 different big changes already in the last 6 years maybe. Because they used to go 4 events. They used to go 125 to 100 to 70 to 30. They took the 100 one out, and then they put the stroke thing in. So we've already seen changes in the last 6 years, so I wouldn't be surprised to see another one coming.
I think they need to add an event, and it's not the 100. I think they need to go 125, 70, 30, 16. This is my bright idea. I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts on this. They go 16, top 16 goes, because statistically only 13 of the 30 players had a scoring average last week lower than the entire field. So that is more than half the field is basically eliminated. They can't even make a run. Go 16 guys, 4-day tournament, course of their choice. Whoever the tour wants to put it, I don't care where it is, match play. And on Sunday afternoon, we see 2 guys duke it out for $15 million, and the loser gets $5 million.
I would rather see that than the current format.
I would pay pay-per-view prices to watch that.
Yeah, that'd be exciting to watch.
John Brown would shit his pants and so would DeChambeau.
I see issues with it, but I like where you're headed. I don't know how you can just last minute say, well, we're going to pick a course now.
Well, they can't do it last minute. It would be a change that say, okay, starting in this year, it would probably be like a 2-year advancement. I think that's usually how they do it, because the schedule for next year is already set. I just don't like the 10 shots. This is the equivalent of any of us going out in a men's league at our local golf course and shooting anywhere from even par to a couple under and losing because we just gave Johnny Smith 7 shots for the night.
Yeah.
And you lost. And then they go in the bar and are like, yeah, I won my match tonight. It's like, no, you didn't. Okay? You didn't. And not only did, again, congrats, DJ, you won based on how it is. Schauffele beat him by 4 shots for the weekend. 4 shots.
Yes.
And I understand, and I understand the mentality. The mentality was we changed the format, and then the casual fan can come in and they understand, like, okay, so the guy who wins the tournament wins the FedEx Cup. Because whoever set that up or decided that, they themselves is too stupid to realize that we have enough technology that you can have a winner for both.
Right.
Somebody can win the tournament. Someone can. I mean, that shit is in real time. They literally, before they changed it, you knew. That year Tiger won it.
I was just saying, I remember, and I don't know if it got too confusing. Maybe the players made complaints about it, saying, Tiger coming to the stretch, he didn't know what he had to do, or did Rose know what he had to do?
I will say that I don't like that setup either, where I think this tournament should have one winner. You win this tournament and you win the championship.
You got to give the guy that's 30th as much chance to win as the guy that's first.
Exactly. I just don't like the 10-stroke thing.
And we talked about it last week, right? Any other sport, you don't come in and just because you were the Bruins, we're watching hockey. You don't give the Bruins an advantage in the playoffs just because they were the best team in hockey. So
I think once you get to the playoffs, points are null and void.
Yes.
Right. I like that. So I got a question for you guys. So the 15th hole at East Lake Sunday was playing 233 into the wind.
Over the water, yeah.
Over the water, basically into an island green.
8-iron, if you're about to ask.
8-iron 190, right?
That's right. For a golf cart.
What if you get 10 shots? How many of those are you putting on the green at 233?
10 shots. So
that's a beast of a hole.
I mean,
7.
I'd hope to say 5.
I don't think he's exaggerating. Neither are you. I think TV doesn't do that green size justice.
Right. That's hard to tell on there.
I think there's enough surface area over there that it doesn't give you justice.
And from the angle they played it, I think that green is a little longer. Where if you played from the other side, it's 30 yards closer, but it's not as deep. You don't have as much.
233 to that back pin. What is it to the front? It's probably only like 175.
I think it was like 170 to carry on. So
I wasn't thinking of it that way. I was thinking I was going to be hitting like 3-wood off the tee or something.
No,
playing a 250 shot.
I think you could hit like a 5-iron B dead center of the green. Probably.
Yeah, I think that green's bigger than you can tell on TV. It's not like.
Then in that case, I move mine to 7 with Russ.
It's not. It's not like.
I'll go 8.5. Final offer.
I'd 7.
I don't think
7 golf balls.
It's not like you're trying to carry and land on a green the size of 17 at Sawgrass.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a lot bigger than you can tell from TV.
I don't put my numbers high just because I don't hit my long irons as accurate.
Well,
Russ hits his long irons pretty well, so I don't.
You also hit a Polish power cut that doesn't favor the water right at the green.
Correct.
That's why you guys started at like 18 T.
Yeah. Start it where you want. Just hope it lands dry. So I do have some stats because I was so frustrated with the outcome, and I was extremely curious. And last week, I said my homework was I was going to tell you guys who won this tournament.
Well, there was a lot out there.
You have it out there.
I did your homework for you because it pissed me off.
Dude, I have a spreadsheet. I did a whole damn spreadsheet. What do you want to see?
I mean, you could have just. A lot of people are tweeting about who won it, so it's not.
Well, I wanted to know all this shit. I don't care about what people are tweeting. This is 3-star recruits, not.
Yeah, I don't
read Twitter.
You're right. So this is my spreadsheet has their 4-round totals, score to par, scoring average, where they started in FedEx Cup, where they ended, and the difference in change. Mm-hmm. The biggest change of the week, didn't mention this guy's name. Mackenzie Hughes moved up 14 spots. That was the biggest move of the week. Up.
Yeah.
The biggest move down.
DeChambeau.
Bingo.
Yeah.
14 spots down. No coincidence. It's not ironic that the rough was terrible this week. Mm-hmm. Getting out of that, DeChambeau just completely shit the bed.
Well, it wasn't only DeChambeau, as we had a
right, but it clearly magnified more with him.
A shank from Rory.
Yes,
a top.
But
it clearly magnified more.
Bottom line is DeChambeau moved down.
Which we knew, right? We've talked about that for the last 2 months.
Some other guys made big moves. Obviously, Schauffele moved up 12 spots. So did Scotty Scheffler and Tyrell Hatton moved up 12 spots. Those 4 guys are the only ones who made double-digit moves up. Did you have that in your notes, too? Did you do all that, or just had scores?
No, I just had
scores.
What they started at, what they actually shot.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, Xander Schauffele, in my eyes, won the tournament.
Yes.
Because he started 3 under, ended up shooting 18 under, which puts him 15 under of what he actually shot, which is the best score.
And I'd be curious, to your point, obviously Schauffele shot the best. Like, there's got to be a mindset, too, to that, right? Is DJ being as aggressive as he would have if they all start level, whereas Schauffele and Thomas and Rahm and those guys got to start firing at pins because they got to make a move. So it's interesting. It'd be interesting, and I know they talked to DJ. I think I heard Sunday they asked him, what's your mindset going into today? Because he had a 4 or 5 shot lead.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm just going to play the front 9 as I'm normally, and then as I head to the back, I'll check the scoreboard to see what it looks like to know if I need to if I can sit back a little or do what I need to do.
So I did my research from the eyes of the guy at number 30, and that's Billy Horschel. Because my prediction was you cannot win this tournament. Half the field or more cannot win this tournament. So here's what I came up with from my analysis. The scoring average for the week for the entire field, this is 120 rounds, was 68.9. The par is 70 at Eastlake, by the way. Schauffele had the lowest scoring average at 66.25, and in theory, for the week, shot the lowest round at 15 under. 13 of the 30 players had a scoring average lower than the entire scoring average for the entire field, which was 68. So it's more than half the field had a scoring average higher, which would kind of prove statistically you cannot make a run. There was only 10 scorers of the 120 rounds of 65 or lower, and 4 of them were 64. 65, and then only 4 scorers were at 64. Nothing lower than that. The average change in rank, less than half a spot. And that number is skewed because we had a guy who went 14 spots, 3 guys go 12, 1 guy dropped 14 spots, which kind of balances up, but it also kind of skews the numbers. So less than half. As we mentioned, biggest move was Mackenzie Hughes. Biggest move down was DeChambeau from 8th to 22nd. Billy Horschel, the guy who was 30th coming into this week. I want your guys' opinion on this. Billy Horschel would have needed a scoring average of 64.75 to tie Dustin Johnson because he started 10 under. That's almost 2 shots lower, or no, it's almost 4 shots lower than the entire scoring average for the week, right? There was only 5 rounds total of 64.
Yeah. It's just not obviously you can't we see you can score on there, but not consistently over 4 rounds.
So like you said, mindset. If you're Billy Horschel, when you got to come in and make up 10 shots, and like he said, the number 1 player in the world, Dustin Johnson, are you just showing up and going through the motions?
Yeah, I mean, he's already got a FedEx Cup title, right?
He
feels good. He's got one.
He's got money in the bank. He's showing up. But
I feel like those guys, those like 4 guys at the bottom, taking Hughes out of it because he's the one that jumped, but I feel like they were there like, hey, I'm just going to have a good time. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to make whatever. I don't know. Horschel made what, $300,000 or something?
Yeah, it was right around there.
400,000, which is normally what, second or third place in a normal tournament.
Third probably. But.
Yeah, it's the same mindset as a person go to a major where there are big payouts. So let's say the U.S. Open coming up. Let's say the cut line is +2, and there's, I don't know, 5 guys at -8 come cut time. If you're that guy who's on the cut line going into Saturday at +2, you're thinking, I have 0 chance of winning this. I'm just going to show up, play 2 rounds of golf, and collect a paycheck.
Yeah.
That is probably the mindset that the bottom 10, at least, guys in this tournament had going into the Tour Championship, which
Correct.
is a horribly stupid statement to make about the Tour Championship tournament.
Especially with how well DJ is playing right now.
And none of those guys got on tour with that mindset.
Right.
They all have like that drive, that competitiveness, that willingness just to go out and put up a number and be gritty. But you can't even get into that mindset of like, I want to do that because I got to make up 10 shots on Dustin Johnson. Like, what in the hell is, I just, no.
And I haven't seen any guys speak out about it, about the whole starting scores or anything like
players,
that.
Right?
Right, yeah,
Okay.
Actual players. So I'd like to know if some of them have said anything about it, and I don't know if they want to and they feel like they can't. I don't know what their
look at
thought
other
is.
sports like NASCAR. They have their points raced throughout the season. When they get to whatever their final race is it the Daytona where they finally do their cup?
I think you're asking the wrong guy.
You're the
Probably
one.
asking the wrong
You're the one that throws woodchucks and crockpots. So you tell us.
Haven't done that one yet.
It's definitely not Daytona because that's one of the first races.
But you get where I'm going.
Yeah.
Do any of those race car drivers show up knowing they have 0 shot to win?
Yeah, why would you go out there?
Yeah, why would they even hold the event if that was the case? If you know
Right.
that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to win, I mean,
Billy Horschel's scoring average was over par this week, but at the same time, it's like he probably literally just went out there and went through the motions and played, like you said, showed up and played 4 rounds of golf.
So I always think about, and this is not even just tour championship related. Has there ever been a tournament where everybody who either made the cut or when there isn't a cut finished under par? I was thinking about, because obviously this is 1 week, like they start even par.
I would say no.
Yeah, that'd be
Every player finishing
Right.
under par.
That has made the cut.
Probably
Because there's
not.
been a couple times this year. I don't remember what tournament it was. There was only like 10 guys that like finished under par or finished over par. So I was curious, like, has there ever been a tournament
that'd be some serious digging. And I would say if it happened to be one of those tournaments where you got 20 guys that shot 20 under or more.
So I was gonna say one tournament I would think of, and they have every year, is the Century Tournament of Champions.
In Hawaii,
Yeah,
I think people shoot over par there.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That-
A lot
that's
of them
one
have
tournament
just
that-
taken 6 to 8 weeks off, and then they come to
Yeah.
Hawaii with their family.
Which is another thing, obviously, when we've talked about stuff, what you get with the Tour Championship. This year they made a change. Everyone who made the Tour Championship gets to go play in the Century Tour Champions this year, because there were less events. So
It's funny that you say about, has there ever been a tournament where everybody's gotten under par? Because when I look at the leaderboard, I always scroll to the bottom just to see, like, would I have beaten anybody on the leaderboard? There's always someone at plus. Someone always shoots 80-something one of the days.
Yeah, 'cause
Even if it's a top 10 player, it's golf.
they're going through the motions. They made the cut. They're just
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. I mean,
yeah, and those guys, that last place usually gets 15 grand, 20 grand, whatever it is. So
we all remember a couple years ago when Tiger Woods in the majors shooting 82 or 83 during his comeback. I mean, doesn't matter where you're at. You've always got an 80 in you somewhere.
yeah. No, I agree. I think we can all agree that we need some sort of change in the Tour Championship.
yeah,
It's not. I feel bad for half those guys. I feel bad for Billy Horschel. The guy who finished, Billy Horschel being the example, the guy who's 30th has every right and has earned that right to be there to play for that $15 million. And like you said, they should be starting over and those guys should be going out. If you're really that worried about, like, oh, I need to know who wins this tournament, is the guy who wins the FedEx Cup. Okay, 30 guys can play for it.
yeah.
Or take one more week, 16 guys, and let's match play it. I'd love to see that. I would love to see that.
Think about if they did that. If they just took the top 32 after that second event and just said, all right, we're going match play.
Yeah, even after
From
two
there,
events,
right.
instead of going 30 with 32. But even 16, you'd get I think you'd get a lot of TV attention because it'd be easy to follow for people.
Right.
You only have 8 matches the first day. You know what I mean? Like, I think it'd be really easy for people to follow.
And I think those guys they like the Dell Technology match play, the Ryder Cup, the President. They like that match play.
Yeah.
You know, they only get it a few times a year, so.
It's enjoyable to watch,
Right.
too.
Yeah. That's, in my opinion, it's easier for the casual person to watch.
Yeah.
My thing is, they changed this format so that the casual fan could understand what's going on. And I feel like the casual fan is just as confused if I tell that person, yeah, Dustin Johnson just won the tournament, but he didn't shoot the lowest round this weekend for 4 days.
Right. And I don't, yeah, we mentioned already, it doesn't make it easier because obviously every time they show a player, they show where he is in the standings, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to see some change. I do have a question for all of you, golf related, not Tour Championship related. This has been a topic that has been brought up because we've had such a screwy golf season and screwy sports season in general. We are going to see what would have been this year's Masters technically after the season is over, because the season was over last week. The example here is Daniel Berger is not exempt into the Masters that would have been this year. Do you guys think that Augusta and the Masters should make an exception for guys like Daniel Berger who might not have been in the Masters this year, but because the Masters is happening in November, Daniel Berger and maybe a couple other guys should have special invitations to play in the Masters?
Yes, and it's just like the PGA Championship. If you couldn't squeeze everybody into the field like you normally would, you need to switch things around for next year. In the PGA Championship, you know that we have local guys that should have had the opportunity to qualify and didn't get a chance to qualify.
They canceled their
But
tournaments.
now next year, they're not just in, which doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you're in control of the field. You're already giving out exemptions, sponsor exemptions, medical exemptions, etc. Go down the list. 70% of the field actually qualifies. The other 30% are exemptions. You've got space to work with. Let those people in next year.
Yeah, it's good for golf.
But is Augusta taking? Are they taking the stand or the people that should have been in as of April? That's all they're taking.
So Augusta didn't say no. They didn't say yes. Because Daniel Berger has been brought to their attention, and it's kind of been in the news because he was a guy that had a better than normal year this year, and he's done enough that he can't play this year, but come April he can play in that Masters. He's exempt for that.
Right. I guess I would be under. There's special invitations to Augusta, so they don't make exceptions. It is what it is, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but you're also Augusta
right. You can
do whatever the hell you want for your tournament.
Right, but you have whatever. I don't know. It's usually around 85, 80, 90 guys that make get invited to the Masters.
I believe it was actually really light last year.
It was
one of the lightest I've ever seen it.
Meaning there's plenty of space to add more guys.
Yeah, I think last year it was like 75 guys or something.
In my opinion, I get it's Augusta. They're going to do whatever they want. They got the money. It's their tournament. They got their nose in the air. Love the Masters. But in my opinion, Augusta's never going to have a field that is 125 guys because, people qualified or the combination of things and special invites.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
So, just to make sure I understand. If the 2020 Masters had been in April, would Daniel Berger have been in them?
No.
But he is exempt into the 2021 Masters.
Correct.
Then no.
So my question is, because the 2020 Masters is now in November, do you feel guys who have played well in the restart should get into the Masters in November?
I wouldn't have a problem with them giving some special invitations, but where do you draw that line between this guy's played well and this guy hasn't quite played well enough?
Right.
In a subjective thing. Berger specifically, if he's eligible for next year's Masters, but wouldn't have been for the April 2020 Masters, then no. Don't invite him.
And think about it, even this year, really they only missed out for the most part on one tournament before the Masters, right? The players got canceled. Most guys don't play.
It's a really good point.
Between the players and Augusta.
No, it's a good point.
There's like two guys that win those tournaments before that get an invite.
No, it's a great point.
But, they don't get to. So I would still say no special.
One last thing. That I know I was on the yes, he should be inside, but it is in Augusta, Georgia in November. The sun's already going down at 7:30. It's going to be going down at 6 o'clock by then.
They've adjusted their times.
I know, but they're doing 10 or 11 minute tee times. I assume that's a slower side. You can only squeeze so much onto the golf course. Do you really have space to start adding people at that time of year?
It's pretty close to the same in April, right? Time frame. You get maybe an extra half hour, 45 minutes, maybe.
And it still can sometimes come down to the wire at the end.
I would think there's more daylight in April than November.
I would say,
late November.
Yeah.
That's just logistics, but you get where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
I mean,
here in November, it's dark by 5:30.
It is different in Georgia than here.
But they are adjusting times because it is football season.
And the leaders are going off before noon on Sunday. They said
so. Coverage will stop before football starts on Sunday afternoon, right?
I think it's a night or whatever it is.
My take on it is, you guys all make great points. I mean, your point of like the daylight, your point of like there was only one or two tournaments left. Your point of no, there shouldn't be because he wasn't already. My only yes to this is last year's field I felt was really light. I felt like it was extremely light, and it's like, and we have that because we've had repeat winners who are exempt who then fill the field. I feel like in general, no, don't invite Daniel Berger or the guys we feel, for other reasons. But maybe we should, as Augusta, reevaluate how we get exempt into the Masters and get a bigger field than 72 guys or whatever it was. Can you look up how many there was last year?
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to expand the field, generally speaking, not just this year, and said, hey, we're going to start adding X, Y, and Z exemptions to make the field bigger, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Right, and that's one of the things with the Masters. They don't do split tees.
No.
Everyone goes off one. And
there were 87 people last year.
That's not a lot. It's really not.
No, not for a normal field, but I think it's probably just a little light for a normal Masters field.
But we have guys, and I get that's part of winning. That you're forever exempt if you're a Masters champion, which I'm fine with. I don't know if Augusta has a max, or if they say, oh, these guys are in plus whoever's already exempt. But if we have guys who are Masters champions already exempt, those are spots that are taken up. Let's say that guy goes out and still, it's not a Lee Trevino who's been there for years. That guy goes out and wins a tournament. They're like, oh, yeah, it comes with a Masters exemption with this. Let's say, okay, well, that guy's already been in because he's exempt for past champions. So the guy who finished second is now in, or something like that. The highest finishing guy that's not already exempt is into the Masters.
Right.
I'd like to see more guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
and obviously they don't care about who's in my field. It's
a prestigious thing.
Yeah, it's the Masters, so we don't care.
I wouldn't mind seeing, given the history of the Masters and Bobby Jones and the whole amateur thing, I wouldn't mind seeing them expand the number of amateur players that are in it. The guys that just finished the USAM, expand the number of those guys that get into it.
Yeah, because they only take two from the USAM, right?
Right, but I
The
think
winner
there's
and runner-up.
I think there's like 5 or 6 total because they take like the South American low am, the Asian low am, and things like that.
Right.
So,
but I guess given the history of
Bobby Jones
amateur status in Augusta, why not take the top 10 from the USAM?
Right.
Run a
Or
tournament.
something like that.
Run a promotional tournament. It's going to draw guys from all over the country. You got to just like a U.S. Open qualifier. You qualify for it. You go to a event someplace else and you play, and they take 4 or 5 guys.
right.
That'd be great. That'd be great for the sport of golf. Yeah, these are all great ideas. I think Augusta and the tour should listen to us. Just saying.
So I had something fun happen the other day. I was talking with my brother about this, and he was saying, what do you talk about? I said, well, it's a sports podcast. And him being a kind of a goofball, he says, well, you guys talk about what, Korean baseball? So I spent about 5 minutes schooling him on Korean baseball. So great. You should have seen his jaw drop when I was explaining the playoff format to him all of a sudden. I was like, who is this guy?
That's great.
I like it.
Danny Ames had a hole-in-one today. Congrats, Danny.
Ooh, wow.
Ooh.
Yep, number 15 at Corning. I got a text today. It said hole-in-one. Had the red light that like flashes.
Sweet.
Yep. So Danny had a hole-in-one.
Nice.
Congrats, Danny. Yeah, it's his first one. Because he almost had one at Twain a couple weeks ago, and that was close. That was some of the closest I've ever seen of not going in. And he's like, yeah, that would have been my first. Then he texted me today. He had one at Corning. So
Sweet.
congrats, buddy. I ran up your tab. I do want to. No, I'm not. I don't want to point that out. I'll point that out later. But let's move on. What do you guys want to talk about?
What about these Popeyes hockey puck biscuits we've got sitting in the center?
don't
What the
worry
hell's
about those.
going on with those?
He
Well, we
bought
didn't-
those at like noon today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. They're probably hockey pucks
Well,
by now.
we didn't get biscuits on Friday when we stopped because I forgot our order because apparently 4 meals and 4 biscuits is hard to get. But
Now we're just going to sit here like Pavlov's dogs, just drooling, looking at them the whole time.
yeah, I'm seeing how strong you are.
Not strong enough.
So let's go down the UFC rabbit hole real quick.
Okay.
We meant to talk about this last week, and then when we went golfing Friday, we were like, hey, guys, we didn't talk about this. We have discussed Jon Jones moving to heavyweight. We've discussed the possibilities of Jon possibly fighting anybody other than a title fight.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was announced that Brock Lesnar is a quote-unquote free agent, which we've seen before. So then the rumor mill starts spinning that he's going to come to the UFC and Jon and Brock should fight.
Yep. So John went on a Twitter rant like a week and a half ago. And he ended it by saying, oh, and Brock, I'll beat your ass too. Which I think is what sparked this. Beacho, Beacho.
One word.
Beat your ass. Are you watching the Braves?
Freddie Freeman got his 1,500 hit tonight.
We're trying to do the podcast
And
here.
it didn't come back. It wasn't in the stadium.
1,500 hits, a number nobody cares about. Let me know when he gets to 3,000.
Part of 11-run inning.
They're gonna stand UFC. So when we talked about Jon Jones at heavyweight a few weeks ago, I had said that I could picture him taking a big money non-title fight to kind of tune up at that weight class, which I think you disagreed with.
A little bit, yeah.
You thought he would go right to a title fight.
Yep.
This, to me, is a prime example of what I was getting at. Because I think the next title fight is Stipe against Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that will be the next title
Yes,
fight. It's
I
probably
agree.
going to happen that big week, late December.
Yeah,
They
somewhere
usually
right in there, yeah.
That's me guessing. But I think, does John deserve an immediate title shot? I would say yes, based on his history as probably the greatest mixed martial artist ever. I think it's probably in his best interest to take a tune-up fight, and I think Brock Lesnar is the perfect opponent because, in my opinion, Brock Lesnar has 0% chance of beating him. So you combine the fact that I think Jon Jones will absolutely win that fight.
Yep.
It gets John's toes in the water in the weight class, gets him used to having a much heavier person across him in the octagon, especially somebody like Lesnar who is up at the limit.
Yeah, he's. I think he does cut
He's
weight.
probably got to cut weight to get to 265. And I believe if you throw that as a main event on pay-per-view, that's going to be one of their biggest draws they've had in years. So you could probably guarantee, if you're Dana White, you could probably guarantee both of these guys at least $5 million plus some pay-per-view money. So it's a tune-up fight that I think he will absolutely win and probably put $5 to $10 mil in his pocket. And I think that's a prime example of the non-title fight to get him ready that I was envisioning.
I agree with you 1,000%. When you put it in that context of a fight for him to take as a tune-up fight at heavyweight, the Brock Lesnar fight makes sense because Brock Lesnar has 0 chance of winning that fight.
Yes.
0. Brock Lesnar is not a good fighter.
No.
You look up his record, please.
Yeah, I've got him pulled up already.
You know where I was going with this. Brock Lesnar is not a good fighter.
Yeah.
He's a terrible martial artist. John would beat the shit out of him. It wouldn't even be close.
He's
This can't be right. It says he's 5-3-1.
That is absolutely correct.
He's only fought 9 times.
Yes. He's
So that kind of puts me to where I was going to go when you looked my direction. This seems, I know that that Lesnar is considered one of the UFC greats, or you can call him that or not. This almost
a draw.
seems, thank you. This almost seems to be like it should be in Pride or some other sanctioned event, not UFC on a big title card. I understand it's a tune-up fight, and I said before that we're going to see a Jon Jones that we've never saw before, I thought. But I think that this is going to be a run-of-the-mill Jon Jones fight, and he's just going to beat up on an old man. Brock Lesnar's 43 years old.
43.
It wouldn't even be. So Brock brings in a fan base from WWE. That's what it is. He's a draw. He's a well-known name. So that's why.
Yeah.
If some guy came in at heavyweight to UFC when Brock Lesnar did and put up those same numbers, they would have been cut by the UFC.
Yes, exactly.
I
They wouldn't
agree.
have sustained that.
I totally agree. I see the dollar signs for the UFC, but
That's
I think
all
that
it is.
the serious fans, I don't think are going to enjoy it that much.
The serious fans absolutely know what's going on with this. The
Yeah.
casual fans are like, oh, yeah, Brock can win this fight. Brock has 0 chance of winning that fight. 0.
I'm gonna enjoy it because I am a Jon Jones fan, and everything I just explained, that I believe it's a chance for him to get used to the heavyweight division. Maybe I wrote this down wrong. He had one fight in a different promotion before the UFC. If you have his record right there, I have him at 4-4-1 in the UFC.
It's
One
terrible.
no contest because he failed the drug test.
Sorry, I'm just
You
I'm in the criminal information part of his Wikipedia right now. So
gotcha. Either way, his last 3 fights, he's 0-2 with 1 no contest, and he has not fought in the UFC since July of 2016. This is a man that stands no chance against Jon Jones.
0 chance.
it might be exciting to see them on the ground. I don't see it being a big striking match like I would expect it to be. You've got Jon Jones, one of the best, in my opinion, one of the top 5 best wrestlers ever. And then you've got Brock Lesnar, who's going to be larger than him. Who is
Brock has a history of wrestling.
He's 2000 won the NCAA Division I champion.
If there is any small chance that Brock Lesnar has, it's on the ground wrestling.
100%.
Brock Lesnar has to be on top because he's also going to be, you got weight cuts and then guys inflate, but he's going to be at least 50 pounds heavier than anyone Jon Jones has ever fought. So if you do have a guy who's 50 pounds heavier than what you're used to, who has wrestling titles, legitimate wrestling titles, not WWE, but
and for once we're going to see a fight where John's 81-inch reach isn't as much of an advantage now that he's in the upper weight class. He's got guys that are actually going to be able to match up with when he squares up. He's not going to be able to stay as far away like he would before.
I think he's still going to have 4 or 5 inches.
Not
on
quite
guys.
as far, but John's reach is by far the biggest in the history of the UFC.
If Brock were to get him on the ground, there's two. Yeah, the small chance of him winning is getting John on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
The big issue there is getting close enough to John to take him down.
Yeah.
And the second is, okay, you're a wrestler. You've got John on the ground. You better do something before he chokes you out or breaks your arm because Brock has no chance of winning that fight.
No.
It's a money grab for John, for the UFC. Yep. I mean, whatever.
Now, if you're, to look at it the other way, if you're Brock Lesnar, if you're a fan of his, then, I mean, if he thinks he can get in and out of that fight without getting seriously hurt and make $5 to $10 million, then what the hell?
I'm excited to see the pay lines on that because it might be worth putting a couple bucks on Lesnar just on the off chance that he catches a lucky one. Vegas won't shape it up that way, though. They'll make it look, it'll be plus 150, minus 150. Yeah. It won't be multiple hundreds like you'd expect it to be.
I wouldn't bet your paycheck on it, but if you're at a casino and you want to throw 10, 20 bucks on it, then sure, you're right. The odds will probably be very against him. So,
So here's my theory. This fight never happens. And here's why. Lesnar has burned the UFC in the past. I'm not sure Dana White's a big fan of Lesnar. Chael Sonnen kind of went in depth on this earlier this week. But here's my thought process on why this never happens. I still think, but to your point, if John were to take a fight, it would be for money. It'd be someone like Lesnar, who is a real fan, knows it's an easy fight for him. Yep. John, at that point, I still think is going to come in and he's going to get a title shot. The only way Brock Lesnar can fight in UFC is he has to spend 6 months in USADA testing program. No one's confirmed he's in that program. To either A, be in that program, and has he already passed the test and is he clean for 6 months?
Right.
That has to happen first. 6 months from now, we could be announced that John's fighting for the title.
Yep. I don't know any of this for fact, but I thought Brock re-entered the testing pool like a year and a half ago.
I have no idea.
Whether or not he's been tested and tested clean, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure there was rumors that he did re-enter like a year ago.
So if he's in it.
So if that's the case, then that makes this a little more realistic.
I don't even know if you can look that up. But when I listened to Chael Sonnen the other day, he had mentioned that you got to be in that testing pool for 6 months, and Brock hasn't accomplished that. So I don't know. I don't even know if you can look that up and you saw the site and see who's in the testing pool.
Yeah, I don't know. I take a lot of what Chael Sonnen says with a grain of salt too.
The only grain I'm giving him is he kind of runs in that circle of ESPN with Ariel and all those guys. So
now I think this fight makes to go on the other side. If Jon Jones were to fight Ngannou, Derek Lewis, Rosenstrike. You could even throw Overeem in there as kind of the top contenders at the moment. Fighting any of those guys right now, non-title fight, doesn't make sense.
No.
The risk of losing there is real.
Yes.
And, it doesn't make as much sense for Jones.
Yeah, it hinders his...
Unless you were... I think at this point, Jones just cares about his legacy and wants that belt.
Yeah.
But, unless you guaranteed you were going to make $15 million against one of those guys, then I don't think that fight makes sense.
You just hit the nail on the head. The risk of losing that fight is real, which is why I don't think he would take any of those fights non-title.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar, he'd go out and smoke that guy. I don't even know if he'd do a training camp. He'd probably get off the couch and just go beat his ass.
Yep.
Because he doesn't have to cut weight. He'd show up at 235 and bust him up.
Yep.
That's just my opinion. Do you know? Can you look into USADA?
It's all from like 2019.
Yeah, I don't know if you can even look into the poll there, but yeah, I don't know. It is what it is.
All right, what's next?
Let's talk hockey.
Okay. I enjoy hockey.
So
he like hockey.
I've been texting you the last couple nights. I've been sucked into this whole like hockey.
There
You were
go.
here the other night and watched the game.
Yep.
We watched game one of the Vegas Dallas series. So before we get into the hockey, I have a question for you two hockey fans.
Okay.
Something I've noticed. We talked about Marc-Andre Fleury a couple weeks ago and his whole photo, his agent, and he's actually been getting some playing time. He's been starting. And then Robin Leonard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's been also starting as well. And then I've noticed last night that game one, I believe Fleury was in that.
Yes.
Game two, Leonard was in that.
Yes.
So here's my question to the two of you. Has Vegas turned their goalie situation into the NFL two-back situation? And is it an advantage for someone like Vegas right now who has theoretically and realistically they have two starting goalies on their team? And now you can alternate those guys, whether it be every night, every 2 nights, since the games are in the same location, they're having quick turnarounds. Is Vegas at an advantage because they can throw a guy in the net and rest the guy the next night and put another starting goalie back in the net? Is that what we're seeing?
I just dominated UFC talk, so do you want to take over
Yeah.
first?
So I would say this year, no, because they had, 4 months off. Those guys are well rested, and they're playing every other day. So I don't think having 2 goalies is better. Most of the time, you see a team that wins the Stanley Cup has 1 goalie.
That just
They,
plays well.
they're not alternating out all the time and switching goalies.
But,
So I feel like that throws a back. It almost throws a bad, to me, it throws a bad taste potentially in that team's like, we're wishy-washy on goalie. We don't know what we want back there. And I feel, and Russ would know this better, but I would say when you have a goalie back there, the defensemen have a better sense of, what's behind them, how that goalie plays. If you're playing a different way, depending on which goalie you have in there, could potentially throw your game off. And like I said, Russ might be able to talk more about that, but I assume there's a big chemistry between defenseman and a goalie. Just knowing, if this goalie hey, let that guy shoot from wherever, don't let him make a move, or another guy said, try to take him out. If he makes a move on you, that's fine.
Right.
So I think there's a mindset and a chemistry between the defenseman and the goalies.
So they've had the 4 months off talk. Was it 4 months or whatever it was?
Yeah, whatever.
You don't think that's out the window at this point? Because to me, the 4 months was everybody's healthy. We shouldn't be dealing with injuries potentially. But at this rate, the rate they've been playing, I mean, it's is that out the window that they've had those months off?
Yeah.
They've been playing every other night at this point. So
Yeah, but that's a normal occurrence for them for
it is
8 months.
But
So-
we're 2 months back into their season restart.
Yeah, but a lot of these guys are starting, I don't know what the average probably is, 60 games a year. The number 1 goalies are probably starting, 3/4 of the season anyways. So usually you see a back-to-back night. Obviously they'll have a day off, or if a backup goalie wins that back-to-back, and then, all right, throw him out there the next game just to let him play again. Because you never know. Regular season, you never know if your starting goalie goes down. You want to make sure your backup's not. He hasn't played in
Right.
a month and a half.
So let me ask you this then, before I get into your answer. Let's say this is a normal season. I mean, they were close. Let's say this is a new season. Vegas goes in. They got these 2 goalies. Is Vegas at an advantage the entire season because they literally have 2, in my opinion, from what little I've seen, got 2 starting goalies. They play a back-to-back. They can say, you know what? I'm not going to throw Leonard out there on 1 day's rest. I'm going to rest him. We're going to throw Fleury out there, and then or vice versa. And then you've got a fresh goalie out there who's not dealing with any aches, pains, tiredness. He's not mentally drained. You got a guy who's fresh. You're throwing him out there.
Yeah, I can throw in real quick. So I would say still it's not an advantage because a guy like Fleury has been used to however long he's been in the league, 10, 12 years, to being that number one goalie and playing all the time. It probably does not help him to play once every 5 days or, once every 6 days. Once a week or maybe twice a week is probably not helping him.
Prolong his career.
Right, but he would probably rather let me play 3 times during the week, not just once.
Thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. A guy that's used to being a starter doesn't necessarily adjust to a backup role well.
Right.
The thing with the playoffs, the one thing, this game is very physical.
Yeah, there's been like 4 fights.
One difference between typical playoffs versus what we're seeing this year in the bubble is typically you do not play back-to-back nights. We have seen a number of there have been some scenarios, political type stuff, where they took a couple days off and they had to jam-pack the schedule.
Yeah.
And during that first qualifying round, schedule was a little different. So we've seen a number of teams that have had to play back-to-back nights in this bubble scenario. That is not typical for playoffs, usually. To kind of answer your other question, draw these two things together. During the regular season, normally goalies don't play on back-to-back nights. It's rare. It's not unheard of, but most teams probably play 15 sets of back-to-back nights throughout the regular season. So therefore, you would expect your backup goalie to get like 15 starts because of that, plus some others trickled throughout. So let's say your backup goalie plays 20 games a season. A lot of teams would never say this, but they don't have as much faith in their backup goalie. So of those 20 games, you're probably hoping to win half of them. So therefore, you're almost chalking up 10 losses. So to be able to have 2 number ones, a 1A and 1B, is definitely an advantage for those 20 games. And in the playoffs, it's very rare for a team to win the Stanley Cup or go on a deep run using 2 goaltenders. Usually they have 1 goaltender and they ride the hell out of them in the playoffs.
Right.
And a lot of that has to do with the fact that there are no back-to-back nights in the playoffs.
Last year, the prime example with Bennington was St. Louis. He got fucking hot in the playoffs, and they rode him all the way through.
As far as Vegas goes, this whole scenario we talked about with the agent tweeting out that photo has thrown a wrinkle into their season, whether they want to admit it or not. To me, Robin Lehner is the clear number 1 in Vegas. Fleury's gone downhill a little bit. He's still a serviceable goaltender. He's still good. He's better than 90% of the backups in the league.
Right.
Robin Lehner last night, I believe, got his 4th shutout of the playoffs. No other goalie in the playoffs has 3. So he's got twice as many as anybody else. Fleury started game 1 of the West, and I don't know why, because it wasn't a back-to-back night, and Lehner, I believe, was coming off a shutout in game 7 of the Vancouver series, so I don't know why you wouldn't roll with him in game 1. So Fleury played game 1. They got their asses kicked. Lehner played game 2 last night and got another shutout. I don't know why they're playing Fleury at this point.
Yeah, there's not.
I don't even know if I'm answering your question. If I'm the Vegas head coach, Robin Lehner is my starting goalie, and he's not coming out unless he gets hurt.
Yeah, and every time they ask DeBoer about it, he's like wishy-washy. He's like, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I've seen interviews from players.
Yeah, he doesn't want to.
We got faith in both of our goalies. So.
Well, yeah, right. That's what you're.
What are they going to say?
That's what you're supposed to say, right? As a player.
I think the coach is not answering. DeBoer is not answering that question directly, and Fleury's getting a couple starts because of the situation the agent created.
Correct.
If that situation had never occurred, Robin Lehner would be starting every game for Vegas.
Right, and it's hard on Vegas' part here because I don't know what Fleury's making. Probably $6 or $7 million a year.
I think it's
so,
6.5. I think.
So he's getting that money, and that's 5 times as high as a normal backup would get. A normal backup's probably getting $1 to $2 million, maybe $3 million. So, when you're paying a guy, and not that in the playoffs it shouldn't matter how much you're paying a guy if he's not playing well, and you're riding another guy, you play the other guy.
Right.
So.
All right. Anyway, let's move on to other talk. For the NHL, of course.
Yeah, so we're watching Game 2 right now between Tampa and the New York Islanders. The Islanders are a team that would love to have either Robin Leonard or Fleury at the moment because they got their shit kicked in.
That was a absolute. I thought I was watching someone play NHL 20 on their Xbox the other night.
That game, from Tampa Bay's standpoint, was nearly perfectly played. That was nearly a perfect hockey game.
Yeah.
And I read, I don't know what the time was, so 60 minutes in a hockey game. It wasn't until like 58 and a half minutes, so only like a minute and a half left, that Tampa took a shot and missed the net.
Yeah, I think they had one missed shot the entire night. They
So
missed the net.
when you see the shot total for a game, if a team has 30 shots, they might have had 100 shot attempts.
But we're not goal.
Right. So 30 of them went on goal. Maybe 3 or 4 of them scored. A couple hit the post because those actually don't count as shots. And then you probably had 40 shots blocked and another 30 where you completely missed the net. And Tampa didn't miss the net until there was a minute and a half left in that game.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I saw that, and I didn't know if that counted block shots or not. I didn't know if that was figured into that equation. Because I found that hard to believe.
That couldn't. Yeah, they would have had to have had shots blocked.
So, but even still, right, like Russ said, it's, if you take 35 shots in a game, you've probably missed a net 35 times.
Are you telling me the Islanders have zero chance of winning the series?
In my opinion, yes.
I mean, it's 1-1 after two, but
this
so they can
game's
tie the
tied
series
right now,
up. But
Yeah. I mean, I watched some of game one. I'm like, and when I say some, I saw the beginning and saw the score and switched the channel because it wasn't even close.
that's what I think Russ was playing PJ Tour, and I texted him. I was like, 2-1, 3-1, and then I just stopped texting. I was like, this isn't worth it anymore.
It's not close.
Yeah. So, in general, on hockey, we're down to the conference finals. Both series, we weren't sure about this last week. Both series are now in Edmonton. So Tampa and New York have traveled to Edmonton. So the Toronto bubble is open.
Done.
Or closed. I don't know.
Popped.
Vegas, Dallas is 1-1. They've already played 2 games. This is game 2. Tampa's up 1-0.
Vegas looked good last night.
Vegas looked they looked out of sorts in game 1 for some reason, and they looked they should.
You would have thought they were the team that traveled from Toronto.
Yeah, they looked very good last night. I had Robin Leonard written down as a side note. We kind of just talked about that. He looked outstanding. 4th shutout of the playoffs. Philly is no longer playing. Give a little update. I had Oscar Klefbom as my number 1 star last week because he was recovering from the bone cancer.
Yep.
He did end up playing in games 6 and 7. So he got to play in 2 games. And I tell you, they did not ease him in either. He averaged 17 minutes a game, which is a pretty good total.
That's a good chunk
for a forward.
Yeah.
Most of your top line forwards will average 18 to 21 minutes a game. So he was not far behind. They usually in a scenario like, I guess you can't do it in the playoffs, but in a scenario like this during the regular season, if somebody was coming back, you'd put them on the 4th line, let them get a couple shifts, maybe play 5 minutes in the game, and kind of ease back into it. They didn't do that. They go play hockey, Oscar. Welcome back. And to their credit, so they were playing the Islanders in Game 6. At one point, he went out for a face-off. The Islanders backed off and kind of stick-tapped. It's a hockey way of, clapping. Even the Islanders kind of took a moment to initiate kind of welcoming him back.
That's
to the
sweet.
ice. So that was a pretty cool moment. That's kind of the state of hockey at the moment.
I'm predicting a Dallas-Tampa final. I think Dallas will somehow pull that out against Vegas.
That's Vegas? Yeah.
I think Dallas has a better chance of winning than the Islanders do.
Correct. Oh, yeah, 100%.
I think Tampa's even if this game they somehow pull this out on it.
From what little I know, I would agree with that. But I think if Vegas plays as well as they did last night, Dallas has no chance.
Yes.
I think Vegas takes it the whole way.
I think if we don't
Simple as that.
Yeah. If Robin Leonard, it's ironic that we're talking about why they're splitting starts at Fleury because they shouldn't be. If Robin Leonard plays every game, I think Vegas. I would agree with you. I could see Vegas winning it. I would go Tampa Vegas.
It'd be Vegas Tampa would be a fun series.
Yes,
High offensive power.
Yes, it would be.
Both teams.
It would definitely be more entertaining to the casual fan like you who's trying to get into it.
Yep.
The Islanders against Dallas would be a snooze fest.
Right.
Anything with the Islanders is usually, unless they're getting their shit kicked in like they did Monday night.
Yeah.
They're not an exciting team to watch.
It was 8-2 on Monday, and I had a blast watching it.
Yeah.
You guys ready for this?
Sure.
I'm going to steal your LeBron thunder.
Oh.
So last night, I watched the hockey game. I was still up, and I just was scrolling through Twitter and realized there was still an NBA game on. I'm like, I really haven't watched any of the playoffs. Let's watch the playoffs. So it turned into the second half. Before the game started, the highlight of the NBA playoffs, in my opinion already, is Charles Barkley. This guy is a stone-cold savage.
I love Charles Barkley.
He was talking about JaVale McGee. Yeah, that guy.
Okay.
So he was talking about McGee. Will he attempt his first name? He said, if I was the Lakers, I wouldn't even put his ass on the floor. He can't guard you, buddy. He's 7 foot tall, guarding a 6'2" guard, and they don't even give him the ball. He had like no rebounds, no assists, no points in the first half. He's like, I won't even play him.
Yeah. Well, you can't against Houston. You can't play a big man.
If he was good enough to give him the ball, you could put his ass in the post and give him the ball.
I think game one,
7 foot tall.
I think Dwight Howard didn't play game one, and McGee played like 7 minutes or something.
They started McGee last night, apparently.
Yeah.
So anyway, I watched the game, and I was quickly reminded just watching the third quarter of why I just don't have a ton of interest in NBA basketball. And growing up, I think we all played sports, and the old cliche, you play to the whistle. Am I correct? Whether it be hockey, basketball, anything, it requires that. You're cheesing over there. I think you got something brewing.
From the man himself, that JaVale McGee.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
He said it, not me.
So I was watching last night, and I think it was like literally within the first couple of minutes of me watching the game, LeBron goes up for a layup. It doesn't go his way. He feels like he gets fouled. Instantly goes into like, I'm going to cry like a bitch mode. Throws his hands up, he's yelling at the ref. And I'm not kidding you. Within 2 feet or a foot of him, there's two guys battling for the rebound. He could have reached out and grabbed it.
Yep.
He just completely quit on the play, quit on the rebound. And then every time this guy went down the floor, the only thing you saw was his hands in the air, like someone just accused him of taking cookies off the counter and him bitching at the ref. Are you there to play basketball or not? And then I wake up this morning and ESPN is dick riding this guy about how great. What was better, his offense or his defense last night? I got news for you, ESPN. The Lakers pulled away from that game and won it with LeBron sitting on the bench and Rondo came in and got hot. You might have missed that part, ESPN, because promoting Rajon Rondo does not help your numbers and ratings. Talking about LeBron might. LeBron did not win them that game when it mattered last night at the end of the third quarter. That is coming from a basketball person. Been there, done that. So, yes, LeBron, stop bitching. Dude, it was awful. And it wasn't just him. Every guy. It's like, but he's terrible. He, like, throws a fit. And at one point, I caught a hot mic of the other coach and said, you can't change. He looked at the ref and goes, you can't change a call just because he bitches every time.
No, that wasn't the coach.
Dude, I caught a hot mic of a coach saying
so the announcer said it.
He did because I heard the coach say it.
All right.
Coach came on the court and said, you can't change the call just because he bitches every time. Every time. He goes up.
So I know
make the layup.
The first call you talked about, I'm not taking his side, but he definitely got fouled on it. But either way, yeah, he just stops playing.
You can't go to that every time.
But everybody does it, right?
Yes.
So it's just the NBA.
But he's to the point where he's like, I'm LeBron, you should be calling that. You can't quit on the play because the ball isn't going to hoop and just expect the call because you missed the shot. You can't play basketball.
It's like, half the league does that, but he is definitely the poster boy for it.
Yeah.
He's
a great way to put it.
And you think, and I think we've talked about this before, is obviously he's so big, like guys literally have to, like you can't tell, like if Russ is going up for a layup and I run into him, like you're probably not going to call a foul because he's so much bigger than me. But right, he's so much bigger than everybody else he's playing against. It's hard to say just because he hit you on the arm, it's a foul.
Well, keep in mind too, LeBron might not care because I got touched. Don't touch me. I'm going for a layup. The rules of basketball clearly state, and the officials are probably looking at it this way: if you're a defender and you've established your space and your ground, if that guy engages with you first, unless you've like blatantly swatted that guy or something, If LeBron engages in him and he goes, whether he jumps or just stays on the ground, if he stays within his space and just goes straight up, that's not a foul.
Right.
He's maintained his space and stood his ground. And just because LeBron engaged and feels like he missed a shot and should be fouled, that's not a foul. And that's what's happening is like he gets touched and he like bitches about it.
At least he didn't get drop kicked like Siakam did.
I saw that the other night. But then they cut to another clip of Rondo comes out of a timeout. And he's going out of his way talking to the official. That official just ignores him. So he yells down the court to the other official and, like, demonstrates on Harden, like, what he's bitching about. It's like, do you guys care more about winning this game or what the refs are doing?
Does that make you wonder more? And obviously we've seen refs get in trouble for it before. Like, some refs are probably show favoritism to certain players. And I don't know if that's the case, but... They show favoritism, so I know I can go talk to this guy because if I talk to him, the next time down the court, I'm going to get a call.
So here's what I do know. I watched this a couple weeks ago. There was the ref that was busted, right, for betting on games?
Donahue, I think it was.
Donahue, yeah. So he was on a Barstool podcast, and he talked about, like, they said, how did you know, like, what games to bet on? You know, did you make calls? He said, I didn't make calls that I was like, oh, this is going to impact the bet. He goes, I knew before the game because they would have meetings, and they would go into these meetings and literally be told. They'd show them footage and be like, well, this guy complained about this, so you got to call this more tonight.
Yeah.
So he's like, I would call the people I knew and be like, hey, we just come out of a meeting. You're going to see this called more tonight because Iverson complained about it. And that's literally how it would go.
Right.
So now the guys, we're seeing that very transparent on the court. LeBron's bitching about it on the court or whoever it is, mostly him. And, yeah, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing it on the court. So then he probably complains after the game. These refs get footage, and it's just go and play basketball.
Yeah.
You're getting paid stupid money to play a game that kids love to play in their driveway. And I saw guys spend more time bitching about what the refs were doing last night. They're playing basketball. It was pathetic. It's hurting. You want to talk about hurting your brand. Like, I don't want to watch that. I don't care. I don't want to watch that.
I want to see a Lakers-Celtics series.
Celtics are taking it all away.
I think Celtics might be the best team in basketball right now.
So last night was the most I've watched it. I hope the Lakers get eliminated. I think there's a really good chance the Rockets beat them. If the Rockets can shoot better than they did last night, they'll beat the Lakers.
Yeah, but not over the series. I don't think they'll beat them. So
why?
LeBron and Anthony Davis will just take the
That's
game
it.
over.
But what if those two don't show up?
But they do show up.
Yeah, but that you
pretty much
cannot.
every game in the playoffs they've showed up.
You cannot show up every night. That's just sports in general.
Right, that's what you say, but they always do. So until they don't show up, then I guess you can't.
And it can happen.
That's
Right.
why the Celtics will win. They're the most cohesive team out there.
That's why I think Celtics.
Talk about a guy who walked into San Antonio and they lost the game and he blamed it on the air conditioner being broke. And he cramped up. He sat on a bench and cried about it. It's too hot in here.
Is that kind of like the Yankees blaming the lights the other night?
What the fuck does the Yankees have to do with LeBron bitching about?
I just want to drop that in there.
Just a bit outside.
I don't. They're beatable.
they're
LeBron and AD
beatable, but-
can't go out and put up 70 combined every night. It's just not going to happen. Because you go in, they should be professional athletes. You can make adjustments and defensively to shut that down. That's my opinion. It's basketball. You can arrange defenses. You can shut down one guy and force somebody else to beat you. That's what I think's going to happen. Just my take. Anyway, I digress.
You mentioned hurting brands. Did you see any tennis highlights? Do you think Djokovic, do you think that hurts his brand, or do you think that hurts tennis as a whole? Because what I see on social media are people not calling out Novak, but calling out Roger Federer for having similar instances but not getting DQ'd. And they all the articles say, do certain tennis players play by a different set of rules?
I didn't see you said Federer?
Yeah, they were pulling old clips from old majors.
Has he ever hit somebody square in the face? I don't know.
I don't know about square in the face, but he's hit balls like that. Just
Well, yeah. Well, I
boom,
think
hit him and hit lines.
I don't watch much tennis, but I assume they all do that. But I don't know. So I thought it was odd that he got DQ'd or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I'm not big into tennis. I saw a quick blurb on TV walking by the other day, and one of the analysts said they were glad that he got treated like any other player because apparently it is in the rules or whatever.
It seemed egregious to just DQ him. I mean, He's not trying to peg the chick in the neck, obviously.
I know what you're going to say.
I'm excited to hear it.
So, Novak Djokovic?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't watch tennis. I did watch this clip a few times. Djokovic clearly had some sort of beef with this line judge, ball lady, whatever the hell she was. He clearly tried to hit her on purpose, in my opinion. He was clearly trying to hit her or send a message, hit the ball right next to her head or something, okay? So if that's same treatment for all players, then I guess he deserved to get DQ'd. Okay?
That's what they were saying. They were happy. Somebody said they were happy he got the same treatment. Just he got DQ'd and they didn't care about his status. Carry on.
But that ball was probably moving 30 to 40 miles an hour, okay? And that lady dropped like she got shot in the neck with a 308. All right. Now,
This is where he was going.
if I hit you in the head right now with a tennis ball at 40 miles an hour.
How about if you chip one at me while I'm on the putting green? Adam.
Who would do that?
You know what? That's actually an
Good comparison.
outstanding example
You didn't drop to the ground.
because
Only because I
that's-
wanted to guard your feelings. I got on the team and was like, guys,
Yes.
my hand is going to be bruised.
Now imagine a tennis ball that's softer, moving at a slower speed than that golf ball that Adam hit you with,
That was a line drive I hit.
and you dropping like you just got shot in the neck.
I should have in hindsight.
So
Flopped like a fish on the putting green.
It's a foul, Judge.
was it an asshole move by Djokovic? Did he mean to hit her? Yes, I believe he did. Did she flop worse than LeBron? Yes, she did.
There's your LeBron. Dude.
So
So, and to Russ's point, I don't know much about tennis, obviously, but that I believe that lady standing in the middle has nothing to do with the balls. He should have hit that to one of the kids that usually stand on the end, right?
I don't even know what her
So,
job
like,
was.
I think she's a line judge.
to
She's
make sure on the
standing
serve.
on the line to make sure the ball is either in or out.
Oh, at the ends.
Yeah, so there was
Okay.
probably a call or two that he didn't like, and
Yeah.
instead of bitching like LeBron, he hit her in the head with a tennis ball.
I don't know. Like you said, I don't know what happened before that. I just saw the
Yeah,
12-second Twitter clip where he turned and like, I don't know. Because like you said, there's probably
there's gotta be
something
there.
there.
There's got to be a radar on that ball, right?
There's
we got to
something-
get it. There's gotta be
Something
something.
happened, and then he hit the ball at her. But then his quick reaction after he did it was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, like oh shit, I actually hit her.
Yeah,
She didn't move quick enough.
but her reaction was a tad. You can hit me in the throat with a tennis ball. I'm not doing that. She literally was like, she
Yeah.
like couldn't breathe. I'm like,
She acted like somebody in the row right above her dropped a bowling ball on her head.
It's one of the few
come on.
times. It's one of the few times where tennis isn't just straight up.
Oh my goodness.
yeah, I wasn't gonna. That was gonna be one of my duds of the week. So we already got into that. Djokovic, but
Back off my duds.
I go. Sorry, I won't touch. I won't touch your duds.
What do we got?
Adam's got a college football.
Yeah.
update.
What are we time wise?
We're at 113.
Okay.
We're good. A little college football update. So a couple of smaller conferences have already started playing. There have been no spread of COVID or anything. Everything's been good with all teams so far. ACC and the Big 12 are starting play this week.
They
SEC is starting in 2 weeks. I believe the week of September 26th. And the plan is right now the Big 10, Nebraska's president said they're going to get ready and vote very soon. And the plan is the Big 10 to actually start playing October 10th.
Did the Big Ten initially voted to not play, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And
That's what I
then
thought.
they had a bunch of politicians asking why they weren't playing and questioning why they weren't playing. Everybody else was playing.
I could see that because we talked. I think we talked about it. The economic impact of like, to me, college sports. I'm not going to say it brings in more money than pro sports, but I think it might have a bigger impact financially on some of these smaller towns.
Yeah.
College. I think pro sports are in big towns or big cities and stuff. Where colleges, that is what's in the town. That's
They're in towns that are built around the.
Yeah, hence the word college towns.
Yeah.
So I think the economic impact is huge. Well, I could see local politicians, even state politicians, saying,
Yeah, so
Whoa,
I think
whoa,
a couple
yeah.
of politicians saying, "Hey, you guys need to reconsider." So I read today, probably like 8 hours ago now. But the Nebraska president said they plan to vote very soon.
Yeah, I saw some crazy numbers, economic impact. Like
Right. Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff thrown out, and I think they're realizing the Pac-12 still hasn't announced anything, so they might not play. And I think they've said no actual national champion or anything like that this year. But at the same time, they said there will be a national champion. It just won't be the real national champion. But the Big Ten's like, well, we want to play for it. So,
oh, come on.
because they told the Big Ten,
Yeah.
if you play in the winter or spring, you're not going to get to play for that.
And they shouldn't.
So
right.
So they're like, well, we want to play for that.
So like off the top of my head, the one that comes to mind is they said University of Texas. What they have 12 games, 6 home games, 6 away games.
Yeah, something like that. All the conferences have been a little different, but
so with the home games, they said they asked their economic impact that they see an influx in for home games for college football season. It's like $300 million for that town.
yeah, it's huge. Yeah, Austin. Obviously, Austin's a bigger city.
Austin's a little bit bigger, but that was
still,
just.
it's
And they said Tuscaloosa was like 280 million.
I say Texas is all Austin has.
Yeah.
It's a big city because of the University of Texas.
Right. Yeah, that's probably is the draw.
Which is
Hence
funny.
the college town.
Which is funny why you have Nebraska's the one really pushing this in the Big Ten. So that's why it's funny.
Well, what else is Nebraska other than cornfields?
Right. So
2 quick things. We won't go down a wormhole or anything, but the first one is I'm really excited, and I hope that they do play and get their whole seasons in because, like you were saying with the economic impact, not only is it the town, but the colleges themselves, those football programs pay for all the other sports. So you're already seeing colleges cutting golf and tennis. They're first and foremost somehow. Maybe it's because they hold a special place in our hearts, and we want to see those programs.
Not tennis.
Not tennis. Golf is golf mostly. But to move on to the second thing, as hopeful as I am that they're going to make it through their 12 games, I have a lot of friends that are a little bit younger than me that are all in college right now, and all I'm seeing on Instagram and Snapchat is frat party here, party at this house, party at that house. Are they putting these football teams in bubbles like they are in the pro sports? Or are they letting them go out on Friday night and go to parties? 'Cause I don't see it lasting if that's the way it goes.
I assume they're keeping the sports programs closely knit.
You hit the nail on the head though with some of these bigger colleges and their football programs that are bigger. I mean, I've seen stuff like when they were talking about the Big Ten canceling. There was a parent from Ohio State who flew to isn't there offices in like Chicago or something like that?
Yes,
or wherever it was.
or Indianapolis.
He flew to their office and was like, "Okay, if you don't want to answer my question, then you're going to do it in person. I'm going to show up. My kid's playing football." But to your point, like people are like, "Well, they're not there for sport." The people who didn't want it, they're not there for the sport. They're there for the education. It's like, yeah, your kid has the facilities, the resources. The college is what it is because of some of these schools, their football program, the money they bring in. It's ridiculous. And then you have people you have buildings in these donations because you have alumni who went to that school and they still have that deep pride in their college and their college sports, and they dump all this money back into it.
Think about all those NFL players. Obviously, we can talk about other sports. One I think about is obviously Syracuse has a ton of money, but Carmelo obviously came back and built that field house for Syracuse.
Yes.
Like, those are things that those guys that make it to the pros in whatever sport, they go back and donate stuff to the school. And
Don't you love that when you make your student loan payment and you check your email and it's like, hey, would you like to donate to the college?
Yeah.
Like, bro, I did that for 4 years, actually. You're welcome.
And I know I've talked about it before, and you guys are big hockey fans. The biggest sport in Columbus, Ohio, is Ohio State football.
right,
It's not Columbus Blue Jackets. It's not
It's
the
not the
soccer team.
Browns. Are you?
they're in Cleveland.
They're
Just
in
so you know.
Cleveland.
What? Did you say Ohio?
Was it Columbus?
Geography.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Ohio as a whole.
close.
That's,
a couple
that's,
hours
that's
away.
why he's a stat man, not the geography man.
Well, I mean, it really is. I mean, the biggest thing out there is.
Yeah, oh yeah, right, and that's a lot for, as you mentioned, those University of Texas and all those places. That's
Even Alabama.
Right.
That's a small town.
there's no pro sports down Alabama.
That's a
Mississippi.
state.
I was gonna say you guys just called him out.
No, I'm saying Alabama in that town, like Tuscaloosa. Tuscaloosa is a small town.
Yeah, so Alabama, Mississippi. There's no big cities there, so they rely on those colleges.
They don't have pro sports.
Right. They rely on those colleges.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. You want to move on to our 3 stars for the week?
You want to give a NFL predictions real quick?
We can do NFL predictions, yeah.
Since we got tomorrow, or when you're listening to this, Thursday, we'll say.
Yeah, Thursday.
We can have a long episode. Who cares? We'll go through them quick.
So
We'll go first.
I'll go. So I'll go through my whole AFC. I got the Bills winning the East, Steelers winning the North, Colts winning the South, and KC winning the West.
I'm also taking the Bills in the East. The North, I'm taking Baltimore. The South is a shitty toss-up division, in my opinion. I got Colts and Texans written down. I knew I'd make a decision last minute. I'm going the Colts and the Chiefs in the West.
For the East, I'm going Bills. For the West, I'm going the Chiefs. For the North, I'm going to go Pittsburgh in hopes that Roethlisberger stays healthy. In the South, I'm going to have to go with the Colts as well.
Tennessee's an interesting pick there in the South too. Now with Clowney signing there, but they're still their weakest part.
I just keep every time.
Tannehill, so
Yeah, every time I think about Tennessee, I think that they gave Tannehill all that money and he really didn't do much in the playoffs last year. So they got
that division's got 3 teams that definitely could win it. So
Do you have predictions over there?
Yeah, for the AFC East, I want the Bills. Obviously, I mean, you got Josh.
If you want to stay on this podcast, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Although I am excited to see Cam Newton.
Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting.
I'm curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah, more curious than excited.
Yes.
North, I'd like to see the Browns do something finally. I'm not saying that that's a great prediction, but
I get where you're coming
it's
from.
Got to happen.
How can it not with those weapons?
That's right.
Okay.
Colts are always a solid pick. I feel like to at least make the playoffs. It's hard to see them going all the way, but put them on the list. And then Kansas City. I mean,
Yeah, coming up Super Bowl. Yeah. Our NFC.
I got to stick with my what I said probably 4 months ago. I got Eagles in the East, Minnesota in the North, the Saints in the South, and San Fran in the West.
I'm also taking Philly in the East. I'm also taking Minnesota in the North. In the South, I'm taking Tampa Bay. I think they're going to do better than many people wish to admit. And in the West, I'm taking Seattle.
So the East, I'm going to take Dallas. Not a favorable pick by most people, but I just feel like, I don't know, I think it's Dallas. In the West, I'm going to go Arizona. I think that we could see Murray, which, by the way, Hopkins signed for a shitload of money. Did you guys see that?
Yep. And
It's like 45 guaranteed or something.
And who negotiated his contract?
Tre'Davious White. Oh, wait, who negotiated?
Yeah.
Oh,
He didn't have an agent.
he didn't have an agent. Yeah, we talked about it last week.
So,
Yeah.
In the North, I can't believe I'm going to say this.
Say it.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm going to take Detroit.
I could.
In the South, I'm going to see a resurgence. I'm going to go Falcons.
All right.
It's sacrilege for me to not take them in the North, to not take Detroit. But you watch Stafford choke enough, you just start to learn. Like, fool me once. How does George Bush say it? Fool me once. How does that? Regardless, I'm taking the Packers. East, Eagles. I want to take the Washington football team, but it's hard to even.
Who do they have?
Exactly.
They got Scary Terry.
Scary Terry.
The South.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see Tom Brady. So
Yeah. Yep.
it's a toss-up down there, but I'm going to take the Bucks. And then the West, Seahawks.
It's a good pick. It's tough to go against Russell Wilson. He's just a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't really like many of the NFC teams. It's hard for me to be picking from divisions when I'm looking at the teams and going, I don't like any of you guys.
It'll be interesting. There's a lot of division games this week, and obviously with no teams having preseason games, especially Tampa and New Orleans play each other, right? So there's an interesting matchup to start the year off. So
yeah, that's a tough game out of the
and
gate.
that's why I probably give it to New Orleans just because
I did my
obviously they
picks.
played together. So
I did my picks. I was like, There was a lot of games I just didn't want to dig into, and I'm like, I wouldn't put money on that. Right. That's why I listed a couple of games on there like to avoid.
Yep.
One of them was Atlanta, Seattle. I think that the game it could just turn into like the air show.
Take the over.
Exactly. Yeah, take the over and watch the show.
Yeah, tight pay lines on games that are such toss-ups.
It was like -1 on that game, but we won't get into that. It's on the 3starrecruits.com if you want all the information. All right, let's get into our stars, I guess. Who wants to go first?
I only have one. Let me just get it out of the way.
You have a star this week? Normally you just got a dud. I don't want to step on your dud toes.
The only reason I really have this one is because he's not only won himself a few $1 million, but he won me $40 out of you guys. That would be Dustin Johnson.
Jesus.
How do you not pick him?
I don't know, but I got Allie now going cargo fast.
Yeah. Car ran good. I don't really have a lot to say about it. I mean, you go win, lose in a playoff, win again.
Yeah, over $18 million in his last 3 weeks on tour.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. It's not bad.
Decent over the last few weeks.
Go ahead, you can go first.
All right, so my third star is Jalen Ramsey, and not because he signed his contract today. So someone I follow on Twitter, she actually works at Florida State. She's on the faculty there, but she also takes professional photos for Florida State, Jaguars, Bucks. A few years ago, she had tweeted saying she was looking for a brand new camera so she could expand her camera. She wanted a nice Nikon D5 camera. It's like $6,000. She's in her early 20s. So I can't afford that. Jalen Ramsey actually sent her a message, knowing her from Florida State, and paid up part of for her camera so she could keep taking photos.
Good guy, Jalen Ramsey.
So he's my third star. And I actually sent her a message to make sure I could share that story. So
Oh, you did?
I did.
Did she respond?
She did.
Nice.
Oh, boy. My third star, Mr. Xander Schauffele, the man who actually won the PGA Tour Championship tournament. He
Twice in 4 years, right?
started 3 under, actually shot 15 under to get to 18. He did not get $15 million, but in my eyes, he's the man that won the tournament. What you got?
I think this is the one.
That works.
I need a label maker because
Yes, you
I'm
do.
just shooting in the dark here.
You said that last week. You didn't bring one.
I'm going to go my third star is, this might surprise you guys. You've turned me into a hockey guy.
I like it. Just don't steal one of mine.
I'm going to go with, it's going to seem weird. They lost the game, but I'm going to go with the goalie from the Canucks, Demko.
Yep. That's a good pick.
They lost that game 3-0. He technically only gave up 1 goal because they scored 2 empty netters. But at one point, I believe the Canucks they had less than 10 shots on goal, I think, at some point in the third period.
Yeah.
And I texted you, I'm like, this is painful. I mean, they're just shelling this guy, and somehow they're still in the game with the possibility of going on to the next round. And I felt bad for him. So he is my third star of the week.
Yep.
That's gutsy performance. He showed up when the rest didn't.
I think at one point he made like 92 saves in a row over a couple game span.
Yeah, he had
against
30. He had 33 saves. So this is ridiculous. They have him down for shot attempts 34, saves 33. He let up 1 goal. Those empty netters go against him?
No.
That's what they had. I'm looking at the stats.
He did let one up to
34, 33. Man, how much beer did I have tonight?
Theodore. Yeah.
I'm done.
Math guy.
But did you get the putter?
Then we'll talk about the putter. You get to spend the night with the putter again today.
So
Go ahead.
So my second star is Miami Heat for knocking off the Bucks, number 1 seed in the East, and headed to the Eastern Conference Finals.
All right. My second star is Yoel Kiviranta. He is a forward for the Dallas Stars. And Game 7, he had a hat trick. 2 goals in regulation and 1 in overtime, and he was the first rookie in the history of the National Hockey League to have a hat trick in a Game 7.
He's only played 16 career games.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's decent.
Hold my beer. Watch this.
Most awkward post-game interview ever because he's from Finland, barely speaks English, was trying to be humble. It was awkward.
What's more awkward, him or Dustin Johnson? Car ran good.
At least Dustin has a general grasp of the English language.
I'm glad you put it with general.
I've never seen anybody win $15 million and do this.
Yeah, that was the worst fist bump ever.
That's some
Well,
North Kakalaki marble
me-
mouth right there.
Well, his $15 million prize was waiting for him afterwards.
Maybe you can take some speech
to me,
therapy.
that's also a product of there being no fans there.
Well,
Yeah, it's
that's
true.
It would be far more exciting if there
Well,
was.
well said. My second star is I rewatched the fight. I'm going to go with Alistair Overeem.
Yep.
The conversation you and I had was we've talked about all these heavyweights. He came out and won. He's calling out Rosenstruck right now.
He did.
Yeah, that's who he wants to
I
fight.
like that.
I've watched a lot of Overeem's fights, including one in person. I was actually impressed. I felt like that's some of the best he's looked in a long time. Just his timing and his feinting, even on the ground game, just top notch. I don't know if anybody would have beat him that night. So I'm going to go with Overeem as my second star.
Like that. Yeah, he's very quietly sneaking back into potential belt.
But like
Title
and like you
fight.
said, like he's gonna keep fighting. But if like you said, if he loses a couple, he's probably gonna retire.
Yeah.
Because the guy's got a ton of fights, which we talked about last week.
Yep. I like it.
I might have changed my first star. I don't know. Braves got 22 runs through 5 innings tonight. My first star is Braden Point. 14 games in the playoffs. He has 23 points plus 11. Game 1 against the Islanders, 2 goals, 3 assists, and a plus 4. So he's been tearing up the playoffs. So
Definitely.
him and Kucherov have been, but
Yep. My first star is the Vegas Golden Knights. This is a fun fact for Stat Boy. Not just for you, but you're the Stat Boy.
Write this down.
So the Vegas Golden Knights came into league in 2017. They already have 28 playoff wins, so 28 games won in the playoffs.
Do the Rangers have that many?
The Rangers aren't here, but ironically, that is more than 4 other franchises. And I won't go through the whole list, but the oldest being Florida. The Florida Panthers have been in the league since 1993 and only have 19 playoff wins. So in their 3 years, they've done more in the playoffs than the Panthers have in 27. So Golden Knights, my first star.
That's a good fact. So you've already mentioned Mr. Shoffley, which he's actually not my first star, but you're close. My first star is Scotty Scheffler, and it's everything added up for him. We're talking about the guy who was the latest Mr. 59. He flew under the radar coming out of college because of the Morikawa. Even Morikawa flew under the radar because Hovland, Doug Gim, who played at Texas with Scheffler, came out. Yep. He got all the attention because he finished runner-up at the AM, played in U.S. Open, played in the Masters, was a low amateur, I believe, in both. Scheffler came out, flew under the radar, went to Korn Ferry Tour, made it through Korn Ferry Tour, last half of the year. He was Rookie of the Year last year in Korn Ferry Tour, is what he was last year. Scotty Scheffler makes it to the Tour Championship. Not only does he make it, he makes a big move, moves up 12 spots. If we would play the Tour Championship like we all think they should, Scotty Scheffler should have made $5 million, not $2.5 million. So there's a idea of how much the impact is.
Yes.
So he did make $2.5 million. So, and he probably would. I can't remember where he started. Where did he start there?
So he started 2 under. He actually shot 12 under to get to 14. So he actually would have came in second place. So he also shot better than DJ did on the weekend. Shoffley and Scheffler were the only 2 guys that shot better than DJ.
So on my first star, Scotty Scheffler.
Is he Rookie of the Year?
On the PGA Tour?
Right.
No. Morikawa.
Oh. Yeah. I don't think he...
Yeah.
Is he technically in the
This
rookie
is his
stands?
because this is his first full year. All those guys
So they haven't even been talking about him So that's why I didn't think he was qualified for the rookie.
I'd have to look that up, but
Everyone's talking Hovland versus Scheffler.
Really?
Yeah.
Morikawa came out when Hovland did.
Yeah, Morikawa. They came
So-
out at the same time.
That's what I thought, but no one's even mentioned Morikawa, so that's why I don't know if he's played in too many events.
I'll have to
Because
look up
because
the-
he's played in almost 30 events now. So
Yeah,
I
but
don't
they
know
all
what
came out after college last year and
Yeah,
played
so I don't know what
minimum.
I don't know what the rules are, but everybody's talking about Scheffler versus Hovland. So
Interesting. I need to look
and
that up.
a lot of people are giving Hovland because he's got to win. So
I'm still giving
But-
Scheffler.
so
Hovland's win was last year, technically, kind of.
well, it was, part of the wraparound, I guess, but
Yeah,
that's
it's towards the.
Yeah, it's still on the season.
it's
Though.
still in this
Yeah.
season. So
Yeah, I don't know.
Not discrediting what you're saying, I don't understand why Morikawa wouldn't
yeah, that's what.
be eligible if he and Hovland came out at the
They
same
all
time.
came out together because remember there was a playoff last year with Morikawa and Wolf.
Yeah,
Right.
that's when Wolf got his win. So yeah, I don't understand why.
Yeah, I don't know, but everybody's talking about Scheffler versus Hovland. So I don't
Interesting. I want to know who everybody is. We got to talk to them.
know. That's right.
We want their stats. All right, let's hear the dud of the week.
You're not going to like it. But if it's true, you got to take it, and it's the New York Yankees.
It's actually my dud of the week too.
Yeah. I looked up a stat, and then Adam actually sort of one-upped it. I hadn't gone deep enough down the wormhole. They have lost their last 7 of 8. And what was the number you said?
They've lost 14 of 19.
14 or 19.
I mean, in a shortened season, to lose momentum like that, you got to just think it's over for them at this point. They're back to a 500 record.
I mean, they're technically in a wild card spot, I believe, right now.
Yeah, because
so-
they've expanded the playoffs.
But they're
can you
a half
turn
game
this-
from being out of a wild
can you
card
turn
spot.
this train around?
They can.
I've always considered myself a realistic Yankee fan. I also wouldn't consider myself a hardcore Yankee fan. A few years ago, I was hoping for the Yankees to actually play like shit because they needed to rebuild. I was not in agreement of their lineup where they just threw a bunch of home run hitters out there and just every guy got up straight out of the park. It cost them the playoffs that year. And I was upset they made the playoffs that year, to be honest with you, which might sound weird as a fan. And then I was excited when the young guys came in, the Aaron Judges and those guys. And then I was upset that they signed Stanton, which I thought was a complete waste of money. For the amount of money and his age, he's not really worth it. You could have put other guys in that lineup, younger guys, that could build that lineup around Judge.
Statboy's questioning that. I agree with that. The money they gave him versus his health record
It's ridiculous.
is not worth it. The guy's hurt more than he's healthy.
And he's continued that while being in New York.
Yeah, and to bank $30 million a season on somebody like that is not smart.
Understandable.
The
They've
Yankees
lost
are
14 of 20. Now they won tonight.
Yeah. So the Yankees are and I'm not being biased here, you guys would probably both agree with this. The Yankees might be one of the most powerful offenses in the league when healthy.
Yes.
Am I wrong there?
No, yeah.
So the issue is because Stanton is hurt all the time, the Yankees, in my opinion, are easy to beat if Judge or Stanton, either one of them is hurt, not a lineup. Because if Judge is in a lineup and Stanton's in a lineup, you can't pitch around both of them. But if one of them is hurt and one of them's in a lineup, you can pitch around one of them and take your chances with the rest of that lineup. Stanton, to me, was not a good pickup. Judge has had injury issues that, if at this point, have come concerning. They need to figure that out, or they need to find a better team doctor for his calf or whatever the hell it is all the time.
Maybe talk to A-Rod.
They also screwed up. How was it, 2 years ago? They got rid of Cervelli?
No, much longer than that.
But they got rid of Cervelli when they shouldn't have.
It's probably been 6-7 years.
But they should have never got rid of Cervelli. That was right around that time they were like,
We had this conversation on the golf course the other day.
should have never got rid of Cervelli. They did not need Sanchez. He's just fat and lazy, and now he's benched because he sucks.
I wish I could find.
And he's one of the worst defensive catchers in the league.
I just saw a stat on Sanchez, and I wish I would have saved it, and I couldn't. It was some ridiculous thing, and I'm like, there's no way that's possible what it was.
He's terrible.
It was something about his hitting. He only has like 12 hits this year or something. I
He's
think that
terrible.
it
He's
was
never
something like-
been.
some team put up like 13 hits in an inning the other day, and it was one more than Sanchez has all year or something. It was,
He's explosive at times, but it's not consistent enough, in my opinion, to keep him on in the lineup. You got better guys.
I tend to watch catchers more than most people because I was a catcher growing up. And Gary Sanchez is by far the worst defensive catcher in the major leagues.
Yeah.
And when you have that situation, he needs to hit 310 and hit 40 home runs to outweigh his defensive mistakes.
He's got to, yeah.
He is costing them runs as a catcher. So when he's is that his stats right there?
No, I got Garrett Cole up here. I can look up Sanchez real quick.
I mean, is he even hitting 100?
I don't think so.
Last time I checked, it was like .81.
They benched me the other day. They should have benched him a long time.
You need to be a perennial Gold Glove catcher in order to have those offensive numbers.
Yep.
And stay in the lineup.
Yep. I agree with that 100%.
I remember.
And they brought in Stanton. It was just, I felt like a repeating record. It was a waste of money. You had Clint Frazier, who you were trying to develop at the time, and like that's the guy that.
Yeah. Clint Frazier is who the Pirates want. Back in the day when the Pirates still had Garrett Cole and the Yankees wanted to trade for him, the Pirates wanted Clint Frazier and they wouldn't trade for him. But yet they've left Clint Frazier up and down in the minors, barely giving him a chance. They could have had Garrett Cole 5 years ago if they had given up Clint Frazier.
Even was it last year the Yankees had Clint Frazier? Yeah, it was last year. Clint Frazier came up, put up some serious numbers while Stanton was hurt, I think it was what it was.
Yeah.
And then they turned around and sent him down because Stanton came back. And then Stanton just they put Stanton on the major league roster, but he wasn't even playing. It was always like a day-to-day thing with him. It was a waste of money.
Sanchez hitting 121.
Yeah.
He's got a 557 OPS, which is not good, which is on base plus slugging.
Those offensive numbers combined with how bad he is defensively, on any other team, he would be in Double-A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're probably paying him too much to feel like they got to throw him down there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's to be honest with you, with what they have, it's unacceptable. And if I'm Cashman, you need to step in and say this isn't okay, and you need to make Boone or somebody make some changes. I think Boone is. I mean, the Yankees got their issues with injuries right now too, but that's a whole other story. Mm-hmm. I think Boone is a good manager. I think he's a player's manager, but at the same time, sometimes I feel like the managers take too much flack for their issues. But
yeah, I know
you can only put players on the field. You can't make a guy hit a fastball.
Yeah, and I feel like Boone might not be making all those decisions. I think they're coming from Cashman.
Well, if you got a guy like Sanchez hitting that, but you're paying him a ton of money, it looks really bad as a GM.
Right.
Like you just said, I got to send him down in Double-A.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think even they mentioned, because I was watching the Yankees broadcast the other night when they were playing the Blue Jays, and that Cashman was in Buffalo watching the game, and even Michael Kay was like that he never travels to away games. Which is funny that he's doing it in that because it's like trade deadline pass, everything's pass. So something clearly, something was getting mad about.
Yeah. Well, since you took my dud of the week, I do have another dud of the week. And it is Joe West, who threw out the Nationals GM, who was sitting in a booth by himself in like the second or third deck with no mask on, so he threw him out.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the rules were the rules, though. I guess
that actually had nothing to do with the mask. He threw him out because he was screaming obscenities at the umpire.
Was he really?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
It wasn't because of
but
that.
I caught the audio of him saying he's not wearing a mask or something like that.
Yeah.
Joe West said, he goes, the stadium's basically empty. We can hear what anybody is yelling, and the things he was yelling at me, anybody would have ejected him from the game.
Gotcha. All right. Either way.
But, yeah, still. It is
Joe West has a great record.
It is funny to see a GM get ejected from the third deck.
And I love the call. He yelled at Snitker. He was like, Brian, call security.
Call security. Anyway. Anything else, boys?
Don't think so.
Football this week. I'm
Yes,
pumped.
sir.
3starrecruits.com.
Check it out.
Yes.
All one word.
All one word.
3 spelled out.
Yep.
THREE.
STAR. You know the rest. 3starrecruits.com.